I was the husband working himself to the bone for our future, living off instant ramen for 6 months in another city, and I had finally, exhaustedly made it back. The reunion I'd pictured was me on one knee, flowers in hand, with her crying tears of joy. The reality was me, empty-handed, kneeling outside an operating room, not knowing if she would live or die. After I shakily swiped my credit card, a doctor pulled me into a corner, giving me a look you'd reserve for a piece of trash. He sneered, "Quite the reunion, buddy. You know what a ruptured ovarian cyst is? It's what happens when a long drought meets a welcome rain, and you two go at it like a house on fire. You almost killed her." He clapped me on the shoulder, his tone heavy and knowing. "Remember, be gentler next time. Don't just think about getting yourself off." I stood there frozen, my mind completely blank, his words a welcome rain after a long drought, echoing in my ears. Yes, she was the drought, but it was painfully clear I wasn't the rain. I paid the bill, saved her life, and in doing so, I personally footed the bill for her love affair with another man. "Payment for room 3605, a nurse called out. "Here, I'm family for 3605. I rushed toward the billing office, my heart pounding with anxiety. I was still in the same clothes I traveled in, my suitcase left behind as I sprinted through the hospital corridors. As I handed over the bill to pay, I watched the blur of doctors and patients rushing past, wondering how everything had gone so wrong. Today was supposed to be a surprise. I'd come home early from a business trip to see my wife, Diana. But the moment I switched my phone on after landing, a call came from the hospital. They said she'd been admitted for severe abdominal pain and asked if I was her next of kin, urging me to get there immediately. Diana had never been seriously ill, never needed to be hospitalized for anything. So the news terrified me. Fearing the worst, I raced from the Chicago O'Hare to Northwestern Memorial as fast as I could. After settling the admission fees, I headed back to her room. Just as my hand touched the doorknob, her attending physician, a woman I'd met briefly in the chaos, pulled me aside. "You're Mr. Miller, correct?" she asked. I let go of the handle, confused, and shook her outstretched hand. "Yes, Dr. Evans. I'm Frank Miller. It was so chaotic earlier, I didn't get a chance to properly introduce myself." She waved a hand dismissively, gesturing for me to follow her to her office. My stomach dropped. No one ever wants a private meeting with a doctor while a loved one is sick. It's almost never good news. Still, I followed her. Dr. Evans motioned for me to sit, her expression unreadable. "Frank," she began, "how long have you and your wife been married?" "A little over 4 years, I said, scratching my head, confused by the question. The doctor let out a deep sigh. "I know you're a young couple, probably still in the honeymoon phase." Her words only confused me more. Seeing my blank expression, she seemed to lose her patience and cut straight to the point, her next words leaving me utterly stunned. "I get that young people have a lot of energy, but not so much that you cause a ruptured ovarian cyst. Do you have any idea how life-threatening that is? You need to be gentler, understand? A woman's body can be delicate. You can't just be reckless because you're young." A cold sweat broke out on my skin. I've been away on business for weeks. How could she have a ruptured cyst? Who could she have possibly been with? Meeting her accusatory stare, I stammered, grasping for an explanation. "Is it possible the diagnosis is wrong? Are you absolutely sure it's a ruptured cyst?" Dr. Evans's eyes widened in disbelief. "I'm one of the top gynecologists in Illinois. Don't question my professional judgment. Besides, a man should take responsibility for his actions." "What kind of attitude is this?" Questioning the doctor. I wiped the sweat from my brow and tried another angle, lowering my voice. "Is it possible she might have done this to herself? You know, maybe she was just a little too vigorous." Dr. Evans gave me a thoughtful look, her eyes drifting from my disheveled, travel-worn clothes to the suitcase I'd left outside the room. Her reply was noncommittal. "It's possible, Frank. You should give it some more thought." As I started to reply, I caught the look in her eyes. It was pure pity. In that instant, my world collapsed. Her implication was crystal clear. I had just been refusing to see it, desperately making excuses for Diana. I walked back to the room in a daze. When I pushed open the door, Diana looked up and gave me a sweet smile. "Honey, is everything paid for? Did you bring me anything to eat?" "I'm starving," she cooed, acting as sweet and playful as she always did. Her behavior was completely normal, but the doctor's words had thrown me for a loop, and I mumbled a half-hearted excuse. "I forgot. The cafeteria here is cash only. I'll go get some cash in a bit and buy you something." "Thanks, honey. You're the best." I tucked the covers around Diana, and she began to drift off. Just as she was about to fall asleep, I whispered, "Sweetheart, I'm going to run home and grab your toiletries." In the car, Dr. Evans's words replayed in my mind. It was unbelievable. Diana and I met in college. It was love at first sight. We dated all through school, got married after graduation, and our 5th anniversary was just around the corner. We weren't rich, but our life was sweet and happy. My job required a lot of travel, often for weeks at a time, but we'd video chat constantly. Sometimes she'd call, sometimes I would, and nothing ever seemed out of the ordinary. Could she be cheating on me? I couldn't stop the question from surfacing, but every fiber of my being screamed that it was impossible. Diana loved me. How could she cheat? We had built a life together, met each other's families, and were about to celebrate 5 years of a happy, harmonious marriage. There was no way she could be cheating. I forced myself to stop thinking the worst and pulled out my phone, searching for information on ruptured ovarian cysts. Cysts can sometimes rupture spontaneously during the menstrual cycle due to hormonal changes and increased blood flow, one site said. Another mentioned, rupture can be caused by external force, such as a blow to the abdomen or strenuous physical activity, which increases abdominal pressure. The internet was a mess of information, but after filtering out the wild stories and sticking to medical sites, I found a few cases not related to sex. Those were the ones I clung to, reinforcing my belief in Diana. When I got home and opened the door, the sight of the messy apartment made my stomach clench all over again. Diana must have been in so much pain that she called an ambulance in a panic. Clothes were strewn everywhere, and on the floor were half-empty beer cans and snack wrappers. But when I got to the bedroom and saw the rumpled sheets and a few of her personal items on the nightstand, a wave of relief washed over me. It couldn't be cheating. If she was with someone, she wouldn't have needed those. Seeing them, the tension that had been gripping me finally eased, and a deep exhaustion set in. I took a short nap, and when I woke up, I started cleaning. I gathered all the clothes and threw them in the washer, then splashed some water on my face and started making some food to bring to Diana at the hospital. She had said she was hungry, and I hadn't brought her anything because of what the doctor said. The pain medication should have worn off by now, so I planned to make a few simple, light dishes for her. But when I opened the refrigerator, I froze. Inside was a plate of poached shrimp. Diana never ate shrimp. So who was the shrimp for? My mind started racing again, out of control. Just then my phone buzzed. It was Diana. Honey, where are you? I'm at home, I replied. Her voice was as gentle and normal as ever. When I told her I was home, she asked me to clean out the fridge and toss any leftovers. Why'd you buy shrimp? I asked, trying to sound casual. There was a brief pause on her end before she answered softly. Oh, my parents stopped by a few days ago. Mom loves poached tiger shrimp. Don't you remember? My heart settled back into my chest. That was true. It was their favorite. After hanging up, I slapped myself across the face, cursing my paranoid imagination. Diana recovered well and was discharged from the hospital. In the weeks that followed, she was the same as always, just as sweet and loving as she'd ever been. She'd flirt with me, cook my favorite meals, and life felt exactly as it had for the past 4 years. Except now, there was a splinter of doubt lodged in my mind, one that would occasionally prick me. It didn't hurt, but I could always feel it there. That feeling persisted until the day the power went out of my office, and I came home early. As I stood outside our apartment door, I heard shameless moans coming from within. In that moment, all my suppressed fears and suspicions erupted. I shoved the front door open, and the security door slammed against the wall with a deafening bang. The soft moans coming from the bedroom stopped instantly. I didn't hesitate, storming to the bedroom and throwing open the partially closed door. The sight that greeted me was Diana under the covers, her face flushed, staring at me in complete shock. When she realized it was me, a flicker of embarrassment crossed her face before she forced a weak smile. Honey, she asked tentatively, what are you doing home so early? A firestorm of rage ignited within me. Too early? I roared. You were probably hoping I'd never come back at all. I ripped the comforter off the bed. Diana shrieked, but as I looked, I saw she was alone. I froze, awkwardly letting the comforter fall from my hand. You? I started to say, but Diana cut me off. She snatched the comforter back, pulling it up to her chin as her eyes welled with tears. I knew it, she cried, tears streaming down her face. Frank, you never stopped suspecting me, did you? Watching her cry so beautifully, I started to doubt myself all over again. Wiping her tears, Diana looked at me with hurt in her eyes. I knew something was different ever since I got home from the hospital. You've been so distant, always lost in thought. You'd stare at me without saying a word, and whenever I asked what was wrong, you'd just say it was nothing. I knew it was about the ruptured cyst. You've been suspecting me this whole time. You'd rather torture yourself with these fantasies than just talk to me. Am I really that untrustworthy to you now? I was speechless. I reached out to comfort her, to put a hand on her shoulder, but she violently slapped it away. Tears still streaming, she continued her furious tirade. Frank, did you think I didn't notice? You followed me to my college reunion. You've been going through my phone. I know you have. I never even changed the password because I wanted you to feel secure. But what you did today, this is just too much. Does our marriage, all these years we've spent together, mean so little to you? Okay, Diana, you're right. I've been on edge lately. I'm sorry. Her words filled me with a profound sense of guilt. I couldn't say anything else. I fled the bedroom, needing to get some air. Maybe I'd been acting impulsively. Maybe Diana wasn't cheating at all, and this was all just my own paranoia. As I was thinking this, I bent down to put on my shoes. And that's when I saw them, a pair of men's leather dress shoes, sitting right next to the door that I had never seen before in my life. My heart leaped into my throat. I snatched the shoes, my face hardening, and stormed back into the bedroom. I threw them right at her on the bed. The last trace of a tearful smile vanished from Diana's face. When she saw what had landed on her, she stared at me, her eyes wide with panic. Where's he? I roared, tearing open the closet doors. I ripped back the curtains, searching every corner of the room. Frank, what are you doing? You're scaring me. Please stop. Diana screamed in terror. My rage was boiling over. My eyes locked onto Diana, then slowly drifted down to the large bed she was sitting on. She instinctively clutched the sheets, her guilt palpable. I crouched down and looked under the bed. I froze. There was a half-naked man curled up under the bed. He saw me, and his eyes went wide with shock. Realizing he'd been found, the man froze for a second, then offered a sheepish grin, as if he could explain. Hey man, look, it's not what you. I didn't give him a chance to finish. I grabbed his arm and yanked him out from under the bed. Before he could say another word, my fist connected with his face. He staggered back, his own anger flaring, and he immediately threw a kick at me. We started brawling right there, trading blows as Diana screamed. Neither of us got the upper hand, but we both ended up with bruised faces. Stop it. Both of you stop. You're going to kill each other. He landed a punch on my left cheek. I tasted blood, pushed my tongue against the swelling, and lunged at him again. But then Diana scrambled off the bed and threw herself in front of the other man, shielding him. My fist stopped midair. The whole scene was absurd. Suddenly, I was the outsider, and they looked like the married couple. I clenched my jaw so hard it ached, fighting back a tidal wave of fury. I pointed a shaking finger at the man and ground out one word to Diana. Explain. Diana met my eyes for a second before looking away, silent. The other guy, however, decided to speak up, wiping a smear of blood from his lip. What's there to explain? It is what it looks like, man. He smirked. You're always working, always away. You can't give her what she needs, so she came to me. So now you want to talk? What happened to all that tough guy stuff from a minute ago? Leo, shut up. Diana snapped, cutting off his taunts. My fist clenched so tightly my knuckles turned white. So that's it, Diana? I work my ass off to provide for us, and you take my money and use our home to sleep with someone else. I demanded. Diana hesitated for a moment. Then her expression hardened. Yes, that's exactly what it is. And why are you so angry? This kind of arrangement is perfectly normal. Leo's wife can't satisfy him either, so we help each other out. You're a man. You should get it. Are you going to stand there and tell me you've never been with anyone else on all those business trips? All these years, and you've been perfectly faithful? I find that hard to believe. Her logic was so twisted it made me dizzy with rage. How could she say these things with such confidence, with absolutely no shame? I took a few deep breaths, my finger trembling as I pointed at Leo. This started back when she was in the hospital, didn't it? Diana's silence was all the confirmation I needed. Wow, Diana, I said, my voice shaking. I never would have thought you were capable of this. I pinched the bridge of my nose, taking several deep breaths to calm myself before I spoke again, my voice cold and flat. We're getting a divorce. What? Diana stared at me, genuinely shocked. You want a divorce over this? It's not that big of a deal. And she let out a cold laugh. I don't agree. And don't you forget about your mother's heart condition. She loves me. The doctor at her last checkup said any kind of shock could be dangerous for her. Have you forgotten that? I stared at her face, the same face I had loved for years, and wondered when she had turned into this monster. Seeing Diana standing there, holding Leo's hand as if to shield him from me, my desire for revenge solidified into a cold, hard resolve. When I didn't respond, she mistook my silence for surrender. Frank, I'm not divorcing you because I still love you, she said, her tone suddenly smug. Leo and I are just a physical thing. He's married too. It's actually better that you know. Now we don't have to sneak around. Even when I'm with him, you're the only one I'm thinking about. I actually gagged. I didn't know if she was insane or if the whole world had gone mad. I stayed silent for a long time, pushing down the wave of nausea until I had a plan. Then I looked up at her, letting my expression soften just a little. I can't say I accept this right now, but I do still have feelings for you, Diana. Let's just leave it for now. I'll try to understand where you're coming from. That's my Frank. I knew you'd understand, she said, beaming. She moved in to kiss me, and I subtly turned my head away. See? If I'd known you were this reasonable, we wouldn't have had a fight. My face is killing me, Leo grumbled, rubbing his swollen cheek. Diana immediately started fussing over him while I watched with cold detachment. They both praised me for being so understanding. And then Leo said he felt a little dizzy and wanted to go to an urgent care clinic. He didn't need a clinic. They just wanted to get out of there and find somewhere else to finish. Sure enough, they both got dressed and left together. I watched them go, my jaw clenched. I will make them pay for this. Leo brazenly had a key made for our apartment. The whole place felt tainted, so I just moved out. Diana didn't care. As long as we were legally married, she was entitled to half my income. It was part of our prenuptial agreement, and the real reason she would never agree to a divorce. She hadn't held a job in years. I'd been supporting her the whole time. A divorce would cut her off completely. After being out of the workforce for so long, she wouldn't be able to survive on her own. But what they didn't know was that I was only playing the part of the fool. This whole time, I was planning my revenge. I swore I would make them both regret what they'd done. On one of the rare days I went back to the apartment, I heard the moans as soon as I opened the door. By now, I was mentally prepared for it. It was still disgusting, but it no longer shocked me. I threw open the bedroom door to find them in the middle of it. Leo saw me, laughed, and slapped Diana on the ass. "What's up, Frank? Come and join the party." Even though I was expecting it, his words still set me off. "Go to hell," I snarled. "Have you no shame?" Leo looked stunned for a second. Then he pulled on his pants and shoved me hard. "What's your problem? You're the one who agreed to this." "Don't act all high and mighty now," he shot back. "Hit him, Leo." Diana cheered, lying there shamelessly. I never knew he could be such a prick. Hearing her, I felt sick to my stomach. I turned to her. "Wipe that smile off your face. Your parents are on their way over." Diana's expression turned to fury. "Frank, how dare you call my parents? Are you trying to start a war? Because I can call your mother right now, and who knows if she'll leave here in a car or an ambulance." "Oh, really?" I said, crossing my arms and leaning against the doorframe. "Go on then. Call her." Diana immediately grabbed her phone and dialed my mother's number. "Beep, beep. We're sorry. The number you have dialed is not in service." She stared at me in disbelief, then tried again and again. Every call was the same. Finally, the realization dawned on her, and she threw the phone across the room. "Frank, what did you do? Why can't I get through?" I allowed a cold laugh. Of course she couldn't. I had convinced my parents to get new phone numbers a week ago, and I'd made sure Diana's number wasn't in their contacts. 2 days ago, I'd sent them on a cruise to the Great Lakes. Right now, they were probably enjoying the view over Lake Michigan, completely unreachable. When I didn't answer, Diana started screaming at me, while Leo watched from the sidelines like it was a movie. "You planned this. You did something so they couldn't get my calls. That's why you agreed so easily the other day. You were setting me up. After all these years of marriage, this is how you treat me. Frank, you're shameless." I didn't bother responding. I just waited, counting the seconds. It was about time. And sure enough, right in the middle of Diana's tirade, we heard the front door open. A moment later, the bedroom door was thrown open. It was my father-in-law, his face a mask of fury, with my mother-in-law right behind him. "Diana!" he roared. They stormed into the room, and the half-dressed Diana shrieked and dove onto the covers. "Mom? Dad? What are you doing, Her father strode to the bed, ripped the covers off her, and slapped her hard across the face. The sound echoed in the small room. Diana was stunned for a moment. Then her face went pale, and she suddenly doubled over, vomiting onto the floor. At first, we all thought she was faking it, but she kept retching violently until she was throwing up bile. Her father let her go, frowning. "What's wrong with you? Did one slap do that?" It was clearly serious, so we had no choice but to get her to the hospital and deal with the rest later. On the way to the hospital, Diana was wrapped in a blanket, weakly dry heaving the entire time. Her parents and I exchanged helpless glances. After hours of tests, I was waiting on a bench in the hallway. When Diana finally emerged, some color had returned to her cheeks. She strode right up to me, slapped a piece of paper against my chest, and said with a triumphant smirk, "Congratulations, Frank. You're going to be a father. So what if you're pregnant? What's that got to do with me?" I sneered. I couldn't understand her triumphant attitude. Did she think this meant I couldn't divorce her? Or that a baby would make me love her again? Both were impossible. She was living in a fantasy world. "I don't care if it's mine or not," I said, my voice flat and my expression blank. "I'm not having this child." Diana seemed shocked by my reaction and immediately started trying to reason with me. Why are you still so angry? I told you what Leo and I had was just physical. We use protection every single time. This baby has to be yours. That's enough, her mother snapped, cutting her off. To talk about such things in a hospital, have you no decency? No shame at all. No matter how confidently Diana spoke, her words were too absurd for any of us to accept. Her father just snorted, refusing to even look at her. You have the nerve. You brought nothing but shame on us in our old age. You had a good life, and you threw it all away. Diana seemed stunned that we weren't celebrating her pregnancy. Seeing no support from any of us, she bit her lip and dropped to her knees on the hospital floor. I'm sorry, Mom, Dad. I'm sorry, Frank. I was wrong. I don't know what came over me, saying those horrible things. I was wrong. We were all shocked by her sudden display. She continued in a low voice, I swear I'll never see Leo again. Please just forgive me. I know what I did was wrong. But by now, we were all too disappointed to care. We ignored her and started discussing the divorce amongst ourselves. Frank, her father said to me, we are so sorry. If I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, I would never have believed it. Our daughter has failed you terribly. It's completely understandable that you want a divorce. Her mother looked down at Diana on the floor with a look of pure disappointment, then turned to me, her eyes red. It's all right, I said quickly. Even after the divorce, if you two ever need anything, please don't hesitate to ask. You've always been very good to me. Frank, we've always been so proud to call you our son-in-law. I can't believe this has happened, her father said, shooting another disappointed glare at Diana. Hearing us discuss the divorce so openly, Diana's face contorted with anger, and she started screaming again. Divorce? I don't agree. Don't I get a say in this? Fine. If you divorce me, I'll just go be with Leo. Go ahead, her father retorted. If you're shameless enough to run off with that boy, then I'll consider myself without a daughter. Her father snorted, turning his back on her tantrum. Her mother knelt beside her and spoke softly but firmly. Diana, I'm only going to say this once. If you go to him, we are done. If you don't want to lose your family, you will terminate this pregnancy. Do you understand? You need to think very carefully about this. Diana remained on the floor, looking lost, unable to understand why her own parents had turned against her. Her gaze then shifted to me, filled with venom. Frank, have you no conscience? You're just going to stand there while they tell me to get an abortion? Some father you are. I'm not just letting them, Diana. I'm insisting on it. From this moment on, I don't care if you live or die, I said with a cold laugh. Just then, Leo, who we'd left back at the apartment, suddenly appeared from around corner. He stormed toward us, pointing a finger in my face. What are you so proud of, Frank? I'm the one sleeping with your wife. I'd like to see any of you try and harm my child. I stared at him, stunned. Everyone else was in shock. But for me, it was almost expected. Or maybe I just didn't care anymore. Diana's father's face turned a deathly pale, his chest rising and falling rapidly. He pointed a trembling finger at Leo, his voice choked with rage. You bastard. What did you just say? Her mother just stood there, mouth agape, completely speechless. I quickly stepped forward and put a hand on her father's arm, trying to steady him and calm him down. Her father's body trembled as he fought to control his fury. Diana was completely lost, unable to form a coherent thought. She just stared at Leo in horror. What are you talking about? What do you mean, your child? Leo just smiled, a look of twisted affection on his face as he gazed at Diana. Because I'm in love with you, Diana. I always have been. Why else would I do this? He said. And the baby is definitely mine. 2 months ago, I poked a hole in the condom. Diana looked as if she'd been struck by lightning. What? You? She struggled to find her voice, managing only a choked whisper. Leo, however, continued, his voice full of confidence. The fact that you came to me proves you don't really love your husband, he said. So why not give us a real shot? I always felt we had a connection. I thought if we had a child together, it would make our bond even stronger. At that, Diana finally snapped. You're insane, she shrieked, completely hysterical. You're a crazy, manipulative bastard. Her parents erupted in fury. You piece of trash. Are you out of your mind? Her father yelled. There is no way in hell my daughter is having your baby. Faced with their rage, Leo's confident demeanor cracked, replaced by anger. He glared at Diana. Diana, you're the one who cheated, so own up to it. Stop pretending you're so in love with Frank after you've been with me. It's disgusting. Diana then turned to me, as if just remembering I was there. Frank, listen to me. But I didn't wait to hear it. I turned and walked away. Frank, wait. Diana cried, starting to run after me. But Leo grabbed her arm, stopping her. The scene devolved into chaos. Her parents immediately started screaming at her. Diana, don't you walk away. You explain this baby right now. Mom, I told you, I had no idea it was Leo's. Diana pleaded, but her parents, now convinced she was lying, began interrogating her relentlessly. Leo got dragged into it too, with Diana's mother grabbing his arm and demanding a paternity test. But it was too early for that. Annoyed, Leo yanked his arm away, but he used too much force, sending the older woman stumbling backward. She hit her head on the floor and was knocked unconscious. Seeing his wife on the floor, Diana's father exploded and lunged at Leo. The two men started throwing punches. Diana, seeing her father getting hit, panicked, grabbed a heavy glass vase from a nearby table, and smashed it over Leo's head. The vase shattered on impact, and blood began to pour from a gash on Leo's head. Seeing the blood, Diana was suddenly filled with regret. "Lau, are you okay?" she cried, rushing to his side. "I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to." Leo staggered back against the wall. When his head cleared and he saw Diana crying over him, he kicked her hard in the stomach. "You bitch! You hit me!" Diana fell to the floor, stunned for a moment, before bursting into loud, hysterical sobs. "Lau, you kicked me. How could you? This is all your fault," she wailed. By then, doctors and nurses had swarmed in to stop the bleeding and break things up. I stood off to the side, watching the whole ridiculous circus, and quietly called the police. Leo was arrested for assault and held for 5 days. Diana, now ostracized by her parents, found me on my way home from work. She grabbed my hand, her voice pleading. "Frank, I promise. I swear I will never, ever make a mistake like this again." I pulled my hand away. I knew she was only doing this because her parents had pressured her, which made me despise her even more. The sight of her made me physically ill. The next day, I went to see her parents. "It's over between me and Diana," I told them bluntly. "You don't need to pressure her on my account." They both sighed and said they understood. Just then, Diana burst into the room. "Frank, you can't do this to me." I just frowned and walked out. After that, I threw myself completely into my work. One evening after work, I ran into Diana again. She was pale and had lost a lot of weight. Her eyes lit up when she saw me. "Frank," she called out. I frowned and tried to walk past her, but she grabbed my arm with surprising strength. When I stopped, she spoke quickly. "Frank, the baby, it's gone. I had the procedure. I choose you and my parents." Her words reminded me that we were, in fact, still legally married. I pulled my arm free. "Find some time in the next couple of days. We're finalizing the divorce." "I don't agree," she said, her face turning cold. "If we divorce, I get half of everything." I let out a humorless laugh. So that was her game. "Fine. We'll see you in court." "Fine," she said, biting her lip before turning and walking away. I watched her walk away and almost laughed out loud. She had no idea how much evidence of her infidelity I had collected. She didn't stand a chance in court. The next time I saw her was in the courtroom. With every piece of evidence I presented, the color drained a little more from her face. The judge granted the divorce and ruled that I would keep all of my assets. Only then did Diana seem to feel any regret. She started begging me to take her back, showing up at my office with lunch, leaving huge bouquets of roses at my apartment door. It was infuriating. I would curse at her, insult her, but she acted as if she didn't hear a word, almost seeming to enjoy the abuse. "Go on, Frank, yell at me," she'd say. "Yell as much as you want if it makes you feel better." Her constant presence started affecting my life and my job. My boss eventually had to put me on leave, telling me to come back when I had my personal life sorted out. I finally reached my breaking point. As I was leaving the office late one night, I confronted her. "Diana, this is over. We are never getting back together. If you come near me again, I will call the police." She had been holding a container of food for me, but at my words, her face crumpled and tears started to fall. "But can't we just eat first? We can talk after we eat." We were so wrapped up in our argument that neither of us noticed the dark figure approaching from down the street. By the time I saw him, he was already sprinting out of the shadows, something glinting in his hand as he charged right at me. I squinted, trying to see who it was. It was Leo, and he was holding a knife. "You're going to die," he screamed, his voice unhinged. There was no time to react. I braced myself, closing my eyes, ready for the impact. But in the next instant, I was shoved hard to the side. I opened my eyes to see Diana standing where I had been, a small kitchen knife buried in her chest. Blood poured from the wound, staining her shirt crimson. Security guards from my building tackled Leo, pinning him to the ground. He just lay there, laughing like a madman. "Couldn't kill you, but killing this bitch is just as good," he cackled. I ignored him, catching Diana as she collapsed. She fell into my arms, her eyes losing focus as blood trickled from her mouth. It was clear she wasn't going to make it. Then, with a final surge of strength, she grabbed the front of my shirt. "Frank," she whispered, "do you forgive me?" Even as she was dying, she wanted my forgiveness. I looked down at her face, pressing my jacket against the wound, trying in vain to stop the bleeding. I never answered her. She died in my arms, a look of disappointment on her face, just as the sirens of the approaching ambulance grew louder. Her parents, despite having disowned her, were devastated by the news. They didn't blame me. They knew some tragedies are just unavoidable. After Diana's funeral, Leo's verdict came in. He was sentenced to death. The police said he blamed me for the abortion. He was convinced I had talked Diana into it, robbing him of his only child, and his hatred had festered until he finally snapped. Even at his sentencing, he screamed at me from across the courtroom. "Frank, this is all your fault. If it wasn't for you, Diana and I would have been together. It should have been me," he shrieked. "I should have killed you that night. An eye for an eye. I'll get you for this, even from the grave." I stood up from my seat in the gallery and met his bloodshot gaze. I mouthed 2 words back at him, "Then try." I know he understood me, because he went berserk, nearly flipping the defendant's table before the bailiffs tackled him and pinned him to the floor. I watched for a moment, then turned and walked out of the courtroom. My parents were back from their cruise by then. After everything that had happened, I had no idea how to even begin to explain it all. In the end, I just told them about the divorce. To my surprise, my mother was incredibly understanding, saying it was normal for young people to split up if things weren't working. She wasn't naive. She'd seen how much I'd been struggling, even if she hadn't said anything. She knew her son had been hurt. A huge weight lifted off my shoulders, and for the first time in a long time, I felt ready to start over.